Hello again. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me. We're going to get into some Reddit OC poetry once again tonight. I'm your host, Max, for some trolling. And, feel like I've been going too easy on people recently. And as a result, I've gotten a bunch of DMs from people think they can just like sneak something in. And, we're just going to have to make sure we people are stepping correct here tonight and, sending me their very, very best efforts. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means and, what it means to put your best effort into a poem. That spirit, let's check out some DMs, some poems people sent me via direct message. Now, I require you post your poem first on OC, on OCPoetry. Then you send me a link in DM to that. So if you can't be bothered to post on OCPoetry and put yourself out there and share your content, I'm not going to bother to troll it. So that's just a kind of a prereq. And I think most people get that, but, yeah. Also, if I have some time, we'll get into new, because maybe new has some good stuff too. All right, so here's it. I got this from Spudkip here, Sexton, and I immediately thought Anne Sexton, but that's not what this poem's going to be about. Morn or morn, he opens the gates. Okay, so it's like play on words here. A solemn swagger and a focused eye. To maintain peace in this place of fates, with timid hands his water finds. I find that inversion, his water finds gifted aster. Okay. Oh, that's fine. With timid hands, his water finds gifted aster in need of drink. So it's maybe slightly stilted the solemn swagger. I mean, can a swagger be solemn? I mean, I suppose so. Swagger we tend to think of as someone not in a solemn state. Swagger would be more ostentatious or hyperbolic or something like that. So it's a kind of a little bit of an oxymoron. I like gifted aster. I'm not really sure why it's gifted. Is it gifted because it's talented? It's gifted because someone gave it to him. Refueled, renewed, refreshed. That's a little redundant using three words to say the same thing. Bartenders, patrons unable to speak, seated on headstones and crests. Okay, so I guess these are just the dead people. He measures time in blades of grass and pays no mind to his weak knee. Okay, so you get to this kind of place in the poem, you're asking, so why? Why as a reader should I care that he has a weak knee? Why should I care about this particular sexton performing these particular operations at this particular place? It's kind of a portrait. I mean, this is a study of a single person and his appearance and his actions. We need a proposal in this poem relatively quickly about why we should invest our own energy in caring about this this person. Why is this an important poem for me to read now about this sexton at this point in time? And that's why I think it's important in your first several lines of a poem to produce some type of proposal to the reader about what you're trying to accomplish. And this poem does not do that. More and he opens the gates. Well, if he's always opening them and it's always the same every day, what is the need for this poem? What's its justification? Okay. Let's go on to The Taste of Tea. Another by Spudkip. So Spudkip, because you sent me two, we'll just have a quick look, Spudkip. Okay. Sign me up. I'll be a tea taster, even though I read the signs warning me it takes your finest china, sugar, milk, and honey. A lighthouse burning stokes the flame it stole. Only me, the tea taster. Okay, I'm a little lost. So the speaker wants to be a tea taster, but there's warnings. I'm lost. All right. Rubio Ketz sent me this, I think. I think this was a DM as well. Rubio. We listen with closed mouths, no chance to talk with fragile ears, no chance to hear with frightened mouths, increasingly hidden by the green curtains, increasingly appreciated by a petty visit. Okay, so this lineation is unorthodox. They're really long lines, kind of Whitman-esque lines. Very extended line. When you see a line that's so extended, you tend to think of someone pushing out into the world, extending into the world, extroversion type sensation, while shorter lines tend to be inward, grief-stricken, or perhaps more contemplative. So this has a kind of projectile element, but it's not completely convincing because the syntax doesn't. The syntax is broken. I could just see this with lineation. We listen with closed mouths, new line. No chance to talk, new line. With fragile ears, new line. I mean, why? Why lineate this way? Especially given the topic. The topic is people who are afraid or cowed. Maybe, they live in an orphanage or something. I don't know. Increasingly hidden by the green curtains. So this is a big issue to me. What are the green curtains? Where are we? Right? The poet didn't bother to set the scene. They didn't tell us where this is taking place or why we should care. That is a fairly big issue. With closed mouths we listen, and with fragile ears there's a lock in our mouths. There's not a literal lock, I don't think. Right? There's not like an actual padlock. I don't think. But then again, I just don't know. The poem does not give us enough to deduce what it's exactly talking about. We could guess it's about prisoners or children or people who've been abused in some way. But, poems of abuse are almost a trope on Reddit. Everyone's abused. But show us why it's, why we should do this emotional work as your reader. You have to give us incentives to perform the emotional work. We're not going to do your emotional work for you. You give us the motivation to participate and experience the work that the poem does. The poem isn't willing to do the work. Gosh darn, your reader isn't going to be willing to do it either. Okay, pans are optional. Pants. What is the opposite of an echo? Lay your head on my chest under this waxy paper moon and tell me what stories hide in the constellation of your freckles. Slam dam. Ding dong. Great work. Nice pants. Let my fingertips trace over the epics in that old soul. Okay, epics. Okay. Some spines are cracked and pages torn. Okay, a little cliche, but you always remember which are my favorites. Have we done this before? Darling, your Milky Way smile will always bring me home. Okay, maybe a little bit too cute. Okay, but this is a success. Read this, Reddit, and understand why it's a success. Those first two lines, you're totally and completely situated the reader. Lay your head on my chest. It's an invitation that the poem makes. Lay your head on my chest. It's almost like instructions. Readers like that type of instruction, to be invited into an intimate, sensual experience is interesting to readers. It's a good proposition. Who wouldn't want that type of introduction? The second line, under this waxy paper moon, that's interesting, specific, evocative. Okay? Maybe I've heard something similar to that, a waxy paper moon, but, not in every poem, right? Tell me what stories hide in the constellations of your freckles. And then it just spikes that. That's just very, very, very strong. The constellation of your freckles ties in with the moon, the lunar imagery, to get this total depiction of kind of a night fantasy setting. We know love is in the air. It just, and then how do we follow up from these ideas of sights and the sights of the freckles and the feeling of the head on my chest? We get even more specific. Let. See that let there, guys? See that let? It's another invitation to the reader. Let my fingertips trace over the epics in that old soul. So I'm not sure about the epics in the old soul, but whatever. Let my fingertips, again, tactile specifics are intriguing to readers. We like that. We're aroused by that type of thing. That's exciting to us. This poem isn't boring. This poem is good. Do this, Reddit, and win. Is it perfect? Is it the greatest thing I've ever read? No. But is it doing the things that should be done in order to achieve erotic desires? Yes. Okay. Let's look at Soil by Hams. Hams. I think we've done some hams before. I always remember a good hams. I don't forget a ham. That's just, it's just me. But I don't know. I think we've done some hams, man. Hams and I go back. Soil. Substructures of lava lamps glowing damp in the loam. Okay. Honeycomb fireflies flutter translucent wings, and amber hexagons droop cornucopias, foot stomping, frothing wild grapes of Gaia. All right, so this exciting, varied language here, substructures of lava lamps. So, am I in some type of like stoner's den, glowing damp in the loam? Well, where's this loam? Okay, substructures of lava lamps growing damp in the loam. Is this like outside lava lamps? In the loam? I mean, contract and lambent fractal throbs. I don't know what that means. It's interesting. So it's confident language, guys. If you're gonna f up with confidence, which is what Hams is doing here. Honeycomb fireflies flutter. I'm not sure. So honeycomb is for bees, and fireflies aren't bees. They don't come from honeycombs. But the fireflies are possessive of the flutter translucent wings and amber hexagons. You're doing stuff. So sometimes, guys, I'm just like, okay, you're doing things. And it's confident things that you're doing, which is poetical and shows a control of language. So that's something, right? When you have control of language, that's something. When you're skilled at, look at how the consonants in this poem, that the use of these initial syllables and the alliteration, things like fractal throbs and I don't know, damp in the loam. I don't know. It's interesting linguistically. The oral qualities of this are dense and interesting and pleasurable to read. It doesn't make any goddamn sense, unfortunately, but that's not, the end of the world. Hams might be able to utilize some of these techniques to do something else. They could incorporate, pushing this envelope beyond a poem meaning anything here and there and incorporate that into a poem that is more coherent and have some elements that stretch beyond it. Now, certainly, we could pick up a journal of contemporary poetry today. We could find a lot of poems that from front to finish probably read a lot like this. And this might even be better than some of those. So spot on, Hams. Spot on. It's just my bias, right? So I'm not perfect. I have my own things I like and dislike. And I prefer that both sound, this is not how neuroscience actually works. Left and right brain to be stimulated. I like both sides. I like the sense and the sound to collaborate in a poem. That's me. Okay, there's other people who don't. So, maybe you're gonna go out there and kill it with this, Hams. But I think you could try to use these same techniques in a poem that's more focused. It's always easy to accomplish your goals when you really don't have any, right? When your goal is blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, A, done. If your goal is to move people in a specific way, all of a sudden there's going to be a yardstick applied. Were you successful in your goals? All right. So that's done with the DMs. Thank you for people who did. And I actually got into a really weird, sorry to just like have a digression here, really weird conversation with some dude, like some Bernie, I love Bernie type guy, and that's cool. I'm a Vermonter, so I love Bernie. That's cool. But, it was a really weird conversation. He wanted some advice, or she, I'm guessing it's a he, but because it seemed like a Bernie bro, but about like what to read and, what type of poetry he would like. And, guys, you guys got to read some poetry, especially people kind of cutting their teeth and getting into it. You guys got to get out some anthologies, hit the library and read a lot, Ignorance is not a good look. It doesn't look good. He was talking to me about how he liked reading Confucius and wants to read poetry that's like Confucius. I'm like, well, what Confucius are you reading? And wasn't even reading Confucius. He's reading some commentary by, someone else. It's like, okay, well, I mean, Confucius is poetic. I guess it's more philosophy. I guess Ezra Pound was really into Confucius, but I wouldn't recommend reading Ezra Pound either. If you want to read classical Chinese poetry, you can read classical Chinese poetry. You could read Li Bai. Li Bai is great. No problem. Could read Wang Wei. I mean, there's tons of stuff, classical stuff to read. But then he said, I don't like reading stuff in translation. Like, so you read Chinese? You're reading the Analects in Chinese then, champ? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make sense. Get your foundation built, right? Get the foundation of the house built. Read from the tradition widely, and define the tradition however you want. If the tradition for you is, that means you're going to read early American poetry, great. If the tradition to you means you're going to read classical Chinese poetry, great. If the tradition to you means you're going to read, Norse sagas, great, whatever. I mean, make your own tradition, guys, but you have to build a foundation to your house. Otherwise, you'll always be misled. There'll always be another fad that comes along that you'll be following, and you'll go from fad to fad, and you'll have no true sense of what poetry is about and what it means. Okay. Speaking of, let's look at some wasted potential by the Invisible Cats. They try as hard as the withered mind takes them, not focusing on any sense of self, blinded by the outside, searching for others' problems, faltering. Okay, so let's just take a break here, the Invisible Cats. This is a poem about these people presumably have wasted potential. The withered mind takes them. So withered, again, this is another one of these images. The mind isn't literally withered, but it's become a set expression, withered mind, withered body, I suppose. But it's a metaphoric or an image that is ossified. So the language isn't alive anymore. They're saying these people that are essentially have a disease of the spirit, not focusing on any sense of self. But I don't know what that means. The poem needs to set up a specific proposal of in what way they're not focused on a particular set of self, blinded by the outside. What outside? The outside world? Like outside their door? Their parents' expectations? Their boss's expectations? Medical school? I have no idea, right? Searching for others' problems, faltering. Isn't part of life trying to solve people's problems? I mean, is that bad? Should we just solve our own problems? That sounds selfish. I don't know. This poem doesn't have a specific proposal, doesn't introduce a specific problem, doesn't really characterize its, what it's going to try to attack. That's not going to be super, super effective. Ghosts of roaches. Intellectual purpose. I do hope you have an intellectual purpose. Ghosts of roaches infest my shoes. You keep asking why. Ghosts of roaches. Okay. I'm not up yet. The alarm blares, scattering shadows. Windows relay secrets from spirits in pain. Not my windows, but they do in this poem. They chase when I try to run outside. Why do you try to run outside? You keep asking, are we there yet? Are we where? Ghosts of roaches infest my shoes. You go hiking. I mean, so this is like a poem about someone who's crazy, like a crazy person. I don't know. It's intriguing conceit, because roaches are typically seen as that thing that's going to survive the apocalypse, right? That the thing that, you know, all human life will be wiped out, you know, but there'll still be roaches. They're the tough SOBs. They survive everything. But ghosts of them. So ghosts of them. Roaches haunt us alive. When they're dead, they don't really haunt us. Just more roaches come back, right? If you kill one, there's another. This is an interesting proposition that this poem makes, that someone could imagine ghosts of them. Essentially phantom roaches, or, you know, the sensation of them, which some insane people have, where they feel like there's insects crawling on them when they're not. But is this poem about, you know, cuckoo people? I always wonder, like, does Reddit have more poems about people going crazy? Or is that just like a teenage affectation? Are we just all like, you know, wannabes here on Reddit talking about the, you know, how crazy we are? It doesn't really vibe for me, man. No? It's like those Star Trek episodes where it's like, oh, well, the guy that just like was on the holodeck the whole time or whatever. It's like, really? Okay, cool. All right. Death shall have its dominion. Okay, Dylan Thomas. Okay. Everybody knows this Dylan Thomas poem, so, you know, why are you going to try to add to it? Okay. And it's going to be a refutation. So I'm going to take on Dylan Thomas. I'm just going to walk up to him, you know, one of the greatest poets of all time, just punch him in the face and win. F you, Dylan Thomas. I'm the better poet. It's like, that's not going to work. It's like, you know, tough act to follow type of thing. You know, you don't want to follow Dylan Thomas in the open mic night. You just don't. Like, the guy filled fucking stadiums. Like, no. Don't pick fights you can't win, Reddit. You know, and you're not going to win this. You know, refutation. Okay. Oh, he's canceled. He's done. Just edit, delete. Dylan Thomas. It's over. For who would call upon death to tempt its hand in the hair of a newborn child and say, here is another, and wouldest thou not take him? Okay, the archaic language is a pretty big turnoff to me. You got to have a really strong reason for using the kind of anachronism type stuff, guys. You know, if that's just you're trying to emphasize something, or it's humorous or ironic, maybe. But as they are cradled in the plump of a mother's arms and passed from birth to birth, death shall take thee into the high indigo of summer. So that's nice. The high indigo of summer's day, and plunge thee. I'm not really losing me with the archaic language. Why? I mean, it's 2021. And plunge thee into the well of remorse. Black is all dominion. All right. Well, you know, you get chutzpah. You have chutzpah. You have chutzpah, Bootstrap 17. I'll give you that. Got a lot of chutzpah. I like high indigo of summer's day. I like that quite a bit. So you have chutzpah, and you have some chops. But I'm really having trouble with the archaic language. It's a big turnoff to me, and I don't know. Sorry. Push, 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 push. Looks dangerously short on words, which is a very, very tricky challenge for Panda then. 4850. In, out, out. Boring, 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 boring. A pace is traced. Prints laid out of equal space. Droplets of doubt. Here within runs out. What is it about? In, out, out. A pace is traced. Prints laid out. Prints? What prints? But don't get it. Sorry. People are always like, I don't get poetry. It's like, okay. Well, I don't get that poem. Last one. Thanks, I guess, for helping me feel alive. Thanks for sneaking me out of first period gym class. All right. So again, Reddit, man. Reddit, I tell you about doing this. The first line of the poem is like, let's see how many stressed syllables we have. Thanks, I guess, for helping me feel alive. Thanks for sneaking me out of first. It's like, I don't know, at least 10 stressed syllables here. It's a lot of stresses for one line. Why? So just kill that first thanks, I guess, for helping me feel alive. Don't undercut your sentiments out the gate. Thanks, comma, I guess, so that I guess is undercutting your initial. So it's, don't do that. You could just lead with thanks for sneaking me out of first period gym class. I don't know why there's a period there either, where we smoked weed out of a Kickstart can I had bought. Do I need to know that you had bought it? No, that's irrelevant. Thanks for sneaking me out of... And I need to know it's first period gym class? No. Thanks for sneaking me out of gym where we smoked weed out of a can. I don't know what a Kickstart can is, so I don't need to know that either. We smoked weed out of a can. I swear thanks to you I was high for 12 whole hours. Okay, so take out the swear. I swear. It's useless. I was high for 12 whole hours. I wish I were high reading this, as I wrote poetry that did not apply to me? What are you talking about? Are you stoned now? Man. All right, I understand there's beginners on here. There's people just starting out, so then again, you put yourself out there. I got to tell you, poetry is oftentimes an art of economy, of trying to convey a lot of emotion and a lot of ideas quickly, and trying to not waste energy so there's less disruption to this process of like shooting an arrow at the target. And the target is the reader's heart. And if you introduce a lot of extra verbiage, you're creating turbulence in the air, and your arrow is not going to fly straight. Or you're just releasing that arrow with like lots of weird extra kinks and, weird mannerisms as you're pulling your arrow back. Face the target. Find the best way to execute your sentiment with the least amount of wasted motion. This poem is a study from the get-go of how not to be economical in your delivery. Now, are there poets out there who aren't terribly economical in their delivery and still succeed? Absolutely. Allen Ginsberg wasted a huge amount of economy, but the magnitude of his imagery and his ability to dazzle with his intellectual range and seemingly vast and intense sequence of images and ideas made that not as much of a problem for him. But let me tell you, Reddit, I'm just going to tell you this once. You're not Allen Ginsberg. Okay? Don't try to do that. Don't imitate the weaknesses of famous poets. Imitate the strengths. All right. So we have got to go back to one of these guys. I don't remember who it was. Yeah. We've got to give this guy an award. Pants are optional here, because this is the winner. See what we can dig up here. I think gold's fine. I think gold's fine. We'll just go for the gold here. And, I'll write this all up and post a thread on it, and we'll dive back into it. Folks, DM me stuff you feel good about. DM me stuff you've put some effort into. If you're just cutting your teeth and just starting out, tell me that, and I'll respond that way. Say, I don't write a lot of poetry, stuff like that. I'll see what I can do. But you got to read more. That's my message tonight, guys. Read more poetry. Build the foundation first before you build up the house. Build that foundation. Read a lot of 20th century work. You gotta really know, your imagists, your modernists. You want to know the kind of confessional school. You want to get a little bit into kind of that postmodern stuff, and you just got to know your way around the 20th century pretty well, and then understand where free verse came from. Turn back the clock and look at those Victorians, and guys like Yeats. Why did Yeats start experimenting with free verse? What was it that attracted Yeats to free verse? And then why did he turn back? Why did he continue to write metered or rhymed entries and pieces for many, many years despite that? Why did Auden and William Carlos Williams disagree? Well, I can't answer any of those questions. I think, you got more to do. You got more study to do. You got to build that foundation, guys. A little learning's a dangerous thing. Drink deep or taste not the Pierian spring. Their shallow draughts intoxicate the brain, and drinking largely sobers us again. Okay? So drink deep or taste not. Thank you.